for some recommendations about places to go. But I think we're up in Cape Breton
Cape Breton?
area at
Yes.
first, and then we're down closer to the capital at some point. But the whole plan is to explore the whole little island.
Well, good place to start, Cape Breton, because the leaves are turning and it's so beautiful up there with the fall leaves. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. I'm excited.
Good stuff.
To everyone that is here, welcome. Welcome as well. Yes. So we're gonna get started in a few minutes. I'll just wait about one more minute.
Yeah.
If I think everybody that is here, you have been here before, so welcome again. If you have not already shared your information in the chat, we definitely want to be able to, learn about you, follow you, and most importantly, it's about building community here, right? So feel free to connect with each other while you're here as well. So we're gonna get started. I'm gonna share my screen. Today's topic, we are diving into cost of goods sold. There's a couple of components here. One second. And you may be asking, why is this relevant? So we will be talking again, these sessions really examples, a chance for us to dive in to the fundamentals. We are talking about business fundamentals, a chance for you to I'm gonna share my screen. A chance for you to do a little bit of fine-tuning. Richie, can you give me ability to share my screen? Okay, so you should be able to hear me clearly. Today is day 7 of us going through the business foundational elements. The folks online, you can hear me clearly? Yes? Awesome. I see some thumbs up here. So today we are going through cost of goods sold. And really let me just make sure you can see me clearly as well. Yes, I think you can. Screen is here. We're good. I'm gonna turn this one off so it's not additionally a distraction. Okay. Awesome. So today we are going to be talking about cost of goods sold. As you know, these sessions are very interactive. I do believe the session is recorded. You will have the opportunity to we're working on creating that repository of all of the past content. So stay tuned for that. You will get that shortly. So to dive right in, again, it's working, yes. And the session's been recorded, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So welcome to my guest in person and online as well. This is, if anybody, Bernadette, if you want to come to Brampton, you're very welcome. You could be in person as well. So for those of you, we will just start with a land acknowledgement. So again, just really understanding that most of us, like myself, I know some of you have been here for generations upon generations, but we just always like to start by understanding that these lands that we do work, play, and live on were first, inhabited by the First Nations, Indigenous people of Canada. And we want to just say, Thank you. And one of the things that just recently passed was Truth and Reconciliation Day. And I oftentimes say to entrepreneurs in particular, as business owners and contributors to this Canadian economy, we have a part to play. If you go through the 38 or 39 elements of the Truth and Reconciliation Plan, there's a section of what business owners can do, right? And I'll put that link, if not today, tomorrow in the chat, so you all can take a look. If you're not familiar with the action plan, I definitely invite you to take a read, to learn, and not only learn, but to do something about it. Yeah, so just a little bit about Empowered for X, as we're oftentimes having technical difficulties. Sorry about that. I think my battery on the clicker is low, but really a chance. Oh, how about the clicker is not even plugged in? So that that would be why. The joys. So many components. Let me just reset this. So a little bit about our organization. We exist to help entrepreneurs really go from ideation to commercialization, helping you with, the right infrastructure, the right start, the right tools, the right systems. When I engage with entrepreneurs as a business strategist and coach, my message is oftentimes free can only take you so far. So yes, let's get you started innovating, doing the thing that you need to do at the most cost-effective way, but realize if you're thinking about building for scale, there is some cost. There is a cost to doing business. And the theme for today is cost of goods sold. So we'll dive into that a little bit more. But when you want to know a little bit more about us as Empowered Facts, we are here to help you, the entrepreneur, right? I do not say I'm a subject matter expert on all things, but the beautiful thing about our network is that we do have other professionals and subject matters that can help you along your journey as well. So if you're not familiar, I also talk about doing business in a little bit differently, business for good, through a social enterprise lens, through a purpose-driven lens. Oftentimes when people start business, they're like, it's all about the money. And the money could be part of the conversation or should be part of the conversation, but understanding the money is a byproduct of the impact that we have. And we have the ability to structure our business in such a way whereby, I think on one of our calls, Ryan was sharing, for-profit organizations can partner with nonprofit organizations to do a greater impact. Nonprofit organizations can partner with for-profit to do a greater impact. So it can go both ways. So if you're not familiar with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, I do invite you to take a look and just dream about what if we did our business a little bit differently, right? Because it truly matters to create a lasting and impact based on the work that you're doing. A little bit about myself. Not only I am the founder of Empowered Facts, but really an opportunity to support entrepreneurs. All of the things that I'm involved with is connected to the entrepreneurial story in some way. And from a very young age, I've been saying I want to make a difference locally and internationally. And I'm doing it, so I'm happy. So just to give you a little insight, I am not a CPA. I will say this again, I'm not a CPA. What does that mean? So today we're going to be talking about numbers at a very high level. My encouragement from the time I started my business version 1, because I was not a CPA, because my math skills were not as strong, I did not understand business math more so, I found an accountant from day one. Helped me with bookkeeping, helped me with all of those things. And the beautiful thing about my accountant today, I did change my accountant over time, but my accountant makes sure that I understand the concepts, the statements, and understand what is required. So if you don't have an accountant who's also invested in you learning and growing and being able to structure your business well, consider finding another accountant. If you do have the skill, the business math skills, all of these things, yeah, continue to do what you're doing. But financial education for all entrepreneurs is essential, right? And it's not an option to say, leave it to the accountant. You must know it. I must know it. And I really took that personally on my journey thus far. So just what we're going to go over here today is, more on the theory side. We are going to look at some numbers, but really a chance for you to, evaluate what your own cost of good look like. And I'm hoping that you have some insights that we can talk about as well about your own business. So I know for the most part, everyone on the call, are you a business owner?
Not yet.
Not yet. That's okay. You're in the right place. You're a business owner. Thank you. And I believe all of my ladies on the call are business owners. So thank you to everybody's here. So whether you're new or existing business owner, this is a good recap for you. So we're going to explore the definition, cost of goods sold. Or you may hear the terminology COGS. Might be new for you. COGS. It just explains the role from the business profitability standpoint. Is your business profitable, right? Are you moving in the right direction? Sometimes when we are wanting to determine the price of our goods or services, we're oftentimes looking at our competitors. What are the competitors charging? And I oftentimes say that is a okay benchmark. It is not the best benchmark that you should use. The best benchmark is you understanding your own cost and then begin your pricing journey, right? So distinguishing cost of goods sold for product-based versus service-based, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Identifying which costs belongs in COGS versus general overhead, and calculating COGS using standard accounting formula. Again, basic stuff. Advanced, Ryan could do the class on this. Ryan did graduate from Sheridan College in accounting. And I will say, Ryan's really good with numbers. Mental math, the guy slays as well. So what I say with my calculator, I got you. So if you need a tool or mental math, do what you need to do in order to get through the numbers. And lastly, we want to understand how cost of goods will affect the pricing strategy. So what is cost of goods sold? I think I give a little bit of the definition ahead. So cost of goods sold is the direct cost associated with producing and or delivering a product or service that the business sells. It measures the total amount spent directly to generate revenue. So I'm going to pause here for a second and ask each of you, if you are not in business, what would be a direct cost you envision as it relates to your service? If you're not, sorry, if you're not in business, what do you imagine? If you are in business, what would you say is a direct cost for you delivering your service and or product? And I'll just pause for a second to see if anyone wants to come online, or my folks here, you're welcome to say something.
I've gone mute. I know I definitely have the detailers, and then for the car cleaning company that we have. And also, for those that don't know, I'm Ryan. I run detailing nights, mobile waterless car cleaning. So yeah, the waterless car wash, all the cleaning supplies, and the people doing the work is what come to mind. I'm just writing them down.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And yes, we'll be making a list. Anyone else? We're thinking about that, the amount directly spent to generate the revenue. That's like the under piece, right? The key piece. So, right, yeah, we will talk a little bit about everything else, but direct costs. Jacqueline, what would you say?
I would say transportation, maybe.
Transportation.
Yeah, to get to my clients, or depending if I have to get to my clients. I don't know. I think my time.
Yes, yes. We'll
That's a
talk
direct.
about your time in a little.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So transportation.
For me, I'm Brenda. I also do translation French tutoring. For the French tutoring, I would say buying the softwares to help boost up some of the students who love technology, and the other one is books. Like from the Bichirel, the grammar book and stuff, just to help those who need to use the books to be able to facilitate their studies. So that's my direct cost for now.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much for those who have shared, and we will definitely have other opportunities for sharing as well. So when we look at, why is this important? It is central to the profitability and pricing decision. As I talked a little bit about it before, when we talk about our margins, and we will get into margins in one of our sessions, but really thinking about what profit do you want to walk away with, right? Understanding your costs. And that could be a good determining factor. Hey, is there a way for me to bring my costs down if my pricing puts me out of the market as well, right? If you're not branding yourself as a luxury item and your prices are high and all of these things, it may also be a deterrent for your customers, right? So really understanding, do I understand the true cost of my business? I will share this with just a story, I once had a client that started their business, and what they did not factor in the, when you look at your financial statement, rent. People, how could you run, a business if you're not considering, hey, in order for me to deliver, and he was in warehousing, right? Warehousing, where's the stuff going? It has to be a portion of the element. So what I always, and we will talk a little bit about this in the next couple of slides, write down all of the costs that is associated with your business. You need a computer, you need a car, you need software, you need insurance, what else do you need? What do you think you need for your business?
Mortgage, maybe.
Hey, if you're a mortgage, all of it is needed, right? So understanding in order for me to go into this, if I'm not buying outright or leasing, there is a cost, right? And so just again, the importance of understanding your gross, your cost, your COGS, whatever I'm saying, your cost of goods sold. It is important to help you determine what is going to happen in your business. So it matters because you could find out your gross profit, right? And the gross profit is determined from looking at your revenue minus the cost of goods sold. And we'll look at a couple examples of it in a little bit. Also understanding the cost of goods sold, we are able to identify that break-even point, right? And last of all, I think when it comes to your business being strategic, which is really important, we need to be strategic. You have to understand that, by reducing the cost of goods, it's an option, but could we do it without compromising the value or the quality of the products? Listen, if you could I don't think any business runs on net zero, right? There's low infrastructure, but remembering it's not only just trying to eliminate all costs, it's trying to mitigate high costs. So one of the things I know when we were working with a lot of product-based lotion creators, one of the strategies that we had said to a group of them, in order to reduce your costs, can you guys do a group buy, right? The cost for one, because you may be serving 100 people, that person serving 200, but combined, if we now put in an order for 1,000, units versus 100 or 200, our cost comes down lower, right? But sometimes it's hard to find those partnerships where you can go in, but it is oftentimes very rewarding in that way. So for the master accountant in the room, I'm looking to you, Ryan, on my screen here. I wanted to, and this goes to anyone else on the call. Are there any additional factors we can consider about the importance of understanding the cost of goods? Or any thoughts on these 3 points here?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times we don't think of what it costs to deliver the actual product or service. So it's a really good exercise to write it down, to like start watching what it takes to deliver. Because I know, Jacqueline, you said like it's you as the expert. So a lot of the time is just you as the wages. But then if you don't compensate yourself properly, you're not going to make enough money to have a lifestyle. And then I guess if it costs too much for your time, then your pricing to the customer has to be similar. So anybody else, a lot of times, especially people that make stuff, they don't realize how much time it takes to make the thing. So they're selling these cheap things, but eventually they burn out because they have to make so much just to make ends meet.
So funny you say that because I used to have a business where I would make soap, cream, and all of those things years ago. And I loved it. I just loved doing it. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this. It's gonna be so great. But what I realized is I had to price it. So I had a pricing document and whatever, and it broke down. I needed transportation. I needed to have like all kinds of different pieces that I never thought about. And I'm glad I had that document so that it could help me to break it down. But if I didn't do that, I wouldn't know how to properly price my items, nor would I know how much to kind of price it, like, when people, friends and family rates, because I didn't know how it actually, what realistically it took to make it. So it is important to know these factors. And I also understood that by making the product, I think I made more money teaching people how to make soaps and stuff than I did actually selling
Oh,
products, because
interesting.
it was
Right, right.
natural. So I had to sell them quickly, so I can only do like small batches. But it was just kind of my understanding of it shifted as I got into it, and I, trial and error. So it is
Hey,
important.
thanks for sharing, and definitely train the trainer. That type of methodology, go from just doing your own to empowering others. There is a greater, opportunity in that way, because if you're going by your own individual product, and we know that product-based businesses are based on volume, right? So now you have to go, oh, I'm selling this at $20 versus if I were to train someone how to do it, you may charge 4,000, right? So you may, just looking at it, I'm not saying not to get into the volume-based business, but just understanding your business model is really important, right? I think we're going to be talking about business model pretty soon as well. But that's a really great example there. You have to look at all of your costs. So whether you're in product or service, you have to be able to dive into the, how do you say, nitty gritty, the important stuff, right? Which ultimately, again, I think was it yesterday, Ryan? Sometimes I think what was said, sometimes you have this, oh, I want to start a business, and you just start right away without doing that important thing, counting the cost, right? And I think this lesson in particular captures that well. So when we look at what goes into COGS, so cost of goods sold, so these are the things that are included, right? We're also going to look at the things that are not included. So raw material and supplies, right? Direct labor, so time spent producing and or delivering. So this comes back to you, for example, Jacqueline, also Brenda, you're talking about, hey, I'm setting up the lesson plan. I'm, preparing for the case. So whatever that looks like, your time matters in that, right? Because without that time, you cannot deliver the value. And so packaging and shipping, very important as well. We're looking at if you're in, warehousing, logistics, freight in, handling. Listen, for me, running a co-working space, Richie, who has been our very helper, online for these sessions, her time is part of the cost of goods to all of our work that we're doing here. She handles mail for clients. She talks to them on the phone, supports them with different needs. And so part of the day-to-day operation of this space, her time is factored in as part of the cost of goods sold. So when we're considering pricing, Richie specifically, I now write her name on that line item. What does that look like, right? So subcontractors or direct service providers. And this is also interesting. And I always say, we do not need to do everything. If we're leveraging other people outsourcing to get that value, that also has to fall within that parameter. So looking at these direct costs, so these are direct costs. Any surprises for anyone? Are you aware of your direct costs associated with your business or business to be? Yes? You're not familiar. Not yet, not yet. The mango business is gonna come up soon. Yes. Yeah, so any surprises here? What I want you to do for the next 5 minutes is to outline direct costs associated with your business. Because guess what? In part 2 of this, we may not be able to get into all of the numbers today, but I want you not only to write, I think we heard transportation, we heard software. We're looking to say, how much does that cost, right? We need to know it from a numerical standpoint. Hey, this is my true cost. So not just in name, but also in dollars. So Ryan, you said the detailer. What's the detailer's hourly rate to clean the van? You'll write that and put that there as well. So to be able to identify your direct costs. So I'll give you, yes, so 2 more minutes. I know I talk and I also give you some time to work on it. So just to give you that time. Yeah, Brenda, you mentioned software. So I'm asking, okay, maybe you're paying for the software on an annual basis, right? So one of our tools that we use here to help streamline our entire operations is Zoho One, and that costs us $600 a year. So imagine $600 divided by as our numbers continue to grow, but every client that we touch we have to use that tool. So it is important for us to understand, okay, I'm gonna allot, maybe it's $1. For every client delivery, we're gonna put $1 aside to say, hey, we got that price covered. Because guess what happens oftentimes, and I laugh at myself in some ways as well. So yes, you bought the tool $600, right? And you're like, oh, I have this tool, great. What money is going back in to replenish getting the tool for next year? And so this is also helping us to factor in where some of that profit, those margins that we are created and buffer for ourselves, to say, okay, client X pays, we charge $35 a month. From that $35, we're gonna say X number goes towards, as I said, Richie's cost, X number goes towards the tool, 600, that factoring for that software tool that we're using. What else are we doing for these guys? Virtual office. Those are our 2 main things, Richie and tool. Yes. Oh, and the space, right? The building is a part of that as well. So direct cost, we need the building. And so what percentage of that goes towards those costs, right? We have to think about it in that way. So,
we need furniture.
oh, we need furniture. Yes, all of it. Right? So the whiteboard, yes, all of it. So I hope you made a list, and not only just make a list, but write the number or the price points beside that, the cost of those things beside it. So next we look at indirect costs, right? And so it's interesting that rent, and again, depending on the nature of your business, because guess what? These costs that's excluded from the cost of goods sold, the idea behind this cost is that with or without a customer, you must have these things, right? It's not, oh, Ryan, what would be an expense for you that, you know, with or without a customer? Marketing and advertising would be a thing. So sometimes we put our marketing advertising cost, but understand this, the cost of goods sold is specifically to service the client, right? We're looking at that in isolation, not the entire business operating cost. So rent, utility, office expense, marketing, advertising, professional and administrative salaries, unsold inventory. So whatever that amount that remains on your balance sheet in that way. So what the question for this one, for this list I'm asking you to build now, what is every other cost, right? So the first one, this one again, direct cost. Once we get a customer, I need A, B, C, D to service them. This cost is without a customer, for a business even to exist, we must have these things covered, right? So just take about 5 minutes to write down some of the ideas in this space, and I'll give you all a chance to share some of the things that you've come up with in this category as well. So the distinction, and just to go back to the salaries, right? So I did say Richie's falls under the cost of goods sold for delivering our virtual office business. However, Richie isn't serving a client all 8 hours or 7.5 hours a day, right? Richie's doing administrative activities and stuff. And this is where sometimes, especially in the professional service, we blur the line. We just say all of my time. But remember, the distinction with what we're talking about today is specifically geared towards what is required to deliver the service or the value or the product to the customer versus what is needed to keep the business in operations, right? So that's the difference between the two that we're exploring today. I heard someone else come into the room. Welcome. Thank you for being here. We are talking about cost of goods sold. I just gave a few minutes for you to identify some of the costs associated with operating your business versus the cost that's directly associated with delivering the value. And when I say the value, that's your product and or service to the client in that way, right? You will see direct labor spent, and it's specifically time producing or delivering the thing versus administrative tasks, right? Unless it's directly correlated to that service to the client in this way. Okay, so I wanted to hear some of the items you all wrote for yourselves in the indirect cost category. What does that look like for you?
I have one.
Awesome. Thank you, Anne.
So I'm a serial entrepreneur as well. So I have a cozy line. It's all healing products because I'm a naturopathic person. I like to go the natural way to heal pain. When I got into my accident, just buying pain stuff off the shelf, it was no good. So I make my own pain oils, soaps, and all those things. So indirect cost because it's all packaging, labeling, right? So I have to buy the bags, labels. If anybody orders an oil, we have to package it properly to give it to that individual person, right? Whether it's a sample for that client or they're making a regular purchase. So like I said, bags, labels are all indirect stuff we have to do. The mailing out, that's indirect. Carrying it, indirect costs for those individual persons. So I would say, just managing the branding side of Cozy is a lot of indirect costs that I don't really put into the cost unless it's direct, and it depends on how much they're ordering and what they're ordering, right? But there's a little bit of indirect costs we put in there because we have to stay in business. So that's some of my indirect costs for my Cozy. And for the legal information piece of it, the indirect costs would be time spent because sometimes we're dealing with some of our clients after hours, and that would be a cost for us. Sometimes we give a flat rate depending upon their income because we do gear to income as well because we try not to turn away anybody. So it is the after hour direct cost. It is also what we have to put into our paperwork, right? So it's the heading on that. All of that has to be on point. And yeah, I think that would be it for us.
Hey.
With the direct cost for two of our services. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And definitely what I would say, it sounds like for, your after hours or the extra work that you're doing for the client, the truth is so when we look at COGS specifically, again, it comes back to what does it cost us to deliver that value to the client? So if you have this kind of scale in type of pricing system for folks, so you're not turning one away, understand that there is still a cost for delivering that value, right? So
Yeah.
the question then becomes for you and your business and your team is who's covering the cost for people that are maybe not priced as the traditional clientele, if I can say it like that, right? Just understanding, I think the main point, and we do have scaling and programs and stuff like that, but the point is there's a cost for your service. And the thing that sometimes I think I'll speak for myself and some of the colleagues that I work with. We are so inclined to help any and everybody that walks into the door sometimes. And what that sometimes the fallout of that is we haven't actually factored in the true cost for delivering that service. So there's no way for us to recuperate that cost anywhere else if we're not understanding the true cost of the good or the service, right? Again, typically it's cost of goods sold. For many of us who are professionals, it is cost of service sold, right? In that way, if I could put it like that. But thank you for sharing, and I think really great examples and on both sides.
One quick thing I wanted to say is sometimes what entrepreneurs do is, let's say you have someone that's at a lower level income and you build them at a lower rate, then the cost trickles back onto the other people, is what some people do in regards to just try to break even
Yes.
in the next space around, is what a lot of people do for their businesses.
Yes, and that is definitely one way that I have seen it. I think it's, for me at least, when we do those type of scaling in, it's just an understanding that, listen, I'm doing this and I'm not gonna get paid, or my team gets paid because they're not me, and so I sometimes take on that. But just understanding how it works, if you're, trading time for dollars, or, however it's done for you in your organization, the opportunity to restructure that cost, who bears that cost? My accountant says, where's the money for this? Right? So
Right.
what's come in to service this project? And sometimes, where we run into, and I'm guilty of this myself, you have this cash flow imbalance, right? Sometimes you're taking the work because some clients also demand more.
Yeah.
And so you're spending more time than was resourced for, especially
Yep.
if you're using subcontractors on somebody else's project, right? And
Yep.
so he says, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, right?
Yep.
That
Yep.
is not a good business model, right?
Yep.
Because you're always going to be in this kind of deficiency loop. So if we are doing these types of scale-in projects, it's really to understand it does come with a cost and who bears that cost.
Yep.
I hope that was helpful and to contribute with what you shared.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So the other type of things associated with cost of goods sold, looking at inventory, especially I think Anne, you mentioned you have some retail as well.
Yep.
For my folks in the product space, we know inventory is huge. For us we are the product, if I could put it like that, when we are, in the service space, it's our time, it's our dime, it's our team, like physical sweat, right? Like the sweat of our brows, we're making these things happen. But for those of you who have retail, you definitely want to take into consideration the raw materials and labor first appear as inventory, right? So looking at labor to be able to deliver that and create the value, as we talked about. And then once they are sold from inventory, you get the cost of goods sold. So this comes back to, and I'll just go back to my first slide. Direct costs, again, when we talk about COGS, it's what is required in order to deliver the value to the customer. Indirect cost is what is required for our entire business to operate, even if we don't make a sale, if I could put it as layman as that. And then inventory has this unique, especially for my folks in the product space, we understand that it's gonna take some time to make the stuff, get all the stuff. So once it is sold, it moves from indirect to direct, right? And that's one of the unique elements with cost of goods sold as it relates to people in the retail space in particular. So again, looking at some of the components, right? A basic formula, and I'm hoping anyone, you're welcome to contribute to it. I'm curious, most of us in this room are business owners, and I'm curious about your own experience. So after we kind of walk through this example, just understanding, I want to know, what has your experience been like around your own numbers and managing that as well? So you can see, and this is specifically for someone with inventory, right? So beginning inventory plus purchases minus ending inventory, right? So just basically looking at how much came in, how much was purchased, and the inventory then ends with the COGS, or the cost of goods sold, right? So this example, I don't know if how it resonates with you.
call out Bernadette. She's the accountant.
Oh yeah, we'll do that. Thank you. Thank you. Bernadette is in the
I'm a
room.
bookkeeper, not an accountant, so quite different. But anyway, you're doing a wonderful job. Thank you, Ryan. I'm
Hey,
learning
no,
too.
no, you stay on the line, Bernadette. This is for you. And I mean, with this example here as one, but Bernadette, I think what I wanted to share, and I was actually gonna look at Ryan, but yes, I totally forgot that you're in the room as well. In terms of numbers, understanding the numbers, right? There's so many numbers that entrepreneurs are seeing and engaging with on a daily basis. Can you maybe talk to this? Okay, what is the starting point, revenue, cost of goods sold? Like, how do we understand these numbers in a more simplistic and efficient way for us to move or build businesses forward efficiently and profitably, right? Because I think that's one of the limitations that we have. I said in my own journey, you're mismanaging the funds, you're mismanaging the cash flow. I give thanks because now we're doing much better, and I've learned the lesson. I understand how the inflow, outflow, the cash flow works. Bernadette, I'll turn it over to you.
You know what? You have done a stellar job. There's no need to turn it over. I mean, if you understand everything you just said about your cost of goods sale, you will. And if you look at this as a teaching bookkeeper, if you look at this on a regular basis, whether it's daily, monthly, weekly, or at least quarterly, you will know how to scale your business and how to get rid of some deadbeat products that aren't moving and making you money, because you will actually see what the cost of goods is, what it's costing you to make this one product. Say you're making a jewelry, maybe you're making a necklace, you'll see exactly what those costs are. And if you're selling it for less than your costs are, then you need to get rid of it, which is what as when I was in the product industry, I sold my African earrings for 20 years at $10, and they were costing me $15 to bring in from Ghana. But I did it because I love the product. But if you really want to be a business person that makes money, you have to look at your products and get rid of those that aren't making you money. Even if they are some lead magnets, the bottom line is you want to make money as an entrepreneur. So having a really good idea of all this and writing down all your costs. I know everybody probably felt that was a very big exercise, but there's more to it than that. When you start sitting by yourself in a room, you're going to realize there's a lot of costs that are running your business. And you want to make sure you write them all down, because they all make a difference in the bottom line. And we all want to make money. So you need to have a really good capture of that. Whether you have a bookkeeper or accountant, you need to know where your numbers are coming from and what your products are costing you. And as service industry, it's a little bit harder because we're selling ourselves, but you need to know what the value, like a lawyer writes down every 15 minutes you talk to them. So as a service person doing a delivery as a coach or a talk, you have to bill your customer for every minute that you're talking to them, because that is what your cost of goods sold is. It's what your time is given to that customer. So it's meticulous work, but you will be a millionaire if you do it properly.
Right. Thank you, Jacqueline. Jacel. I was gonna say I saw Jacqueline on the screen, and yes, I think it was one of our earlier sessions. We were talking about the gift of the gab. So if lawyers are charging 15, every 15 minutes, Jacqueline, maybe check your prices again. Jacel, good to see you. Good to have you here.
Oh, it's so good to be here. And thank you for hosting this. And just to kind of piggyback off of what Miss Bernadette was sharing, I think for the service industry, the thing that I learned is, like really sitting down and going over your numbers regularly is so important, because especially when we're starting out in business, we think we have to have all the apps, all of the systems, and sometimes we duplicate, right? Like we'll buy a system, we'll buy something like a HubSpot, let's just use it for a CRM, for example, or we'll have, whatever the system is that we need to run our business. And then we realize, oh, wait a minute, I don't need this CRM and this email marketing tool, because maybe the CRM that we purchased has an email marketing tool already built in, right? And so I think just building in the cost of all of those systems that we use to build our business into our pricing is also very important. And I think sometimes, at least for me, I wasn't doing that in the beginning, right? I was just covering the cost of all of the back end and not including that in my overall pricing. And it was costing me. I felt like I was bleeding out it, and I couldn't figure out where the hole in the boat was until I had sat down with someone and they said, hey, like your bookkeeper had said to you or your accountant had said to you, Chris Beth, like, where's the money for this coming from? Right. And that's such an important question to ask ourselves regularly. If I have this new thing added to my business, where is the money from it coming from? And it has to come from the revenue, right? Or from grants or funding, some other source. And so I would encourage everyone strongly. I mean, it's now what, 5.5, almost 6 years for me. And sitting down and looking at my numbers has become a part of my, weekly office reset now.
Hey, and I think it is beautiful. Thank you so much, Jason, for sharing. And honestly, where we're ending off our time today is really just taking that in, right? We have to know our numbers. I feel as though when we're determining pricing, and to plug Bernadette, and there's a lot of ladies on the call. If you're a gentleman, Bernadette will be happy to talk to you as well. So definitely connect with a financial professional who understands the numbers, understands your business, who's also willing to impart that knowledge to you to help you structure your business properly. And I think something that Bernadette shared that, is so important, whether you're in a retail or service. One of the questions on my coaching calls that I ask folks, and I share, I'm multi-passionate as well. There's a lot of things that I want to do, but understanding that because all of the things that I want to do is dependent on me, everything cannot scale at the same time. So making a decision, looking at what the invitation is, look at your top 10, products or services that you're doing, okay? 10 is a lot. So then let's find the top 3 and make a decision from the top 3. Is it look at finding the one that is the leader, right? That it has the ability to generate you the most money, give you the most value, all of those things, and focus, right? Make a decision to chop off or restructure the things that are not working for you. Understand that every product and every service that you have requires its own dedicated marketing, required its own team, to be able to really achieve the goals and the milestones that you want, right? I'm going through this refining process myself, understanding that if we're solopreneurs or small teams, your capacity is capped. There is a cap to your capacity, right? So it's now, how do we optimize and be most efficient, work most efficiently in the areas that are before us? And I see your hand is raised.
Yes, a quick comment. This is what happened, because this is what happened to me when I first started out. When you want, first of all, understand your value, know that who you are, you're valuable. Secondly, once you do get that cost price, stick with it. No matter how people try to let you grind the price down, your time, your knowledge, your product, everything is very, very important. And if they try to do that, you just say, you know what, maybe you can come back when you have money, and then I'll deal with you, but I gave you the best price that I could. Don't go lower than if they try to just push you down, pull you down, pull you down. Know your value and your worth and stick with it.
Hey, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Know your value, know your worth. And yes, so some of us, and there is strategic pricing as well. And we will spend, just being mindful of the time, we will spend a session on pricing. So taking what we learned from, understanding the cost of goods sold and translating that fully into pricing. When we look at a pricing strategy, and I'll use myself as an example. When we first started our co-working space here in Brampton, we were actually priced below market for virtual offices. We charged $9.99 at the time. We were new. We wanted to get a foothold in the virtual marketing space. I understood that and considered it, they call it a loss leader. But that loss leader was below market value. It brought so many people to us. Our prime product, which we oftentimes upsold people into, was the co-working space, was the marketing service, was the consulting. So depending on your product strategy and product placement, but understanding, I knew that there was a cost for the $9.99, which was going to be recuperated somewhere else, right? And this is you could use that. I don't oftentimes recommend it, but if you have that ability, go for it. So it's not always about starting at, today we are no longer at $9.99. We're at $35 for our service, which is just about within the scope of, we're not priced as a luxury service, we're not priced below market, right? Based on our own cost assessment, this is comfortable to us because today that same product acts as a lead generator for us as well, right? So whatever your strategy is, assess it. You wanted to share something?
It was really nice. It's been like first time. So I want to go in a service-based
Business, yeah.
So some things are pretty new for me.
Yeah.
For example, COGS. And yeah, I learned a lot from today's session, and
yeah, come back tomorrow. So the gentleman here was just saying, he learned a lot from today's session. For those that may not have been able to hear online, but really the opportunity for us to continue. Again, these are just nuggets, information that I'm giving you to go away with and think about, apply to your business. I love what Jaisal said. Sit with your numbers. Get to know your numbers. I think Bernadette said it as well. For me, myself, with my accountant, we have a monthly overall meeting that he walks through the number. We have a quarter, what also falls in a quarterly cadence as well. The quarterly, we do a deeper dive. But me on a weekly basis, I'm looking at these numbers, right? I don't do it daily. I did hear a gentleman say he looks at all of his accounts every day. That's how he starts. I'm not there yet, but at least dedicating a time in the week to look at the numbers. Again, who's paying for the stuff that we're doing, right? Yes, and understanding for startups, you might be investing a lot more in the front. But if we walk into it with the mindset, I'm investing my time, my dime, my energy, resources, the question then becomes, at what point do I get a return? Right? So that's why it's also important to document your startup journey, right? Because it matters. It truly does matter. And I think I got that firsthand experience when I was part of a tech team, and it's everybody's documenting because this person has this much equity and all of this stuff, right? But lessons learned, right? Bernadette, I see you're unmuted. Folks,
Yeah.
I wanted to just say thank you for coming out to be with us here today. We will be back again tomorrow to dive deeper. Bernadette, I'll let you go ahead.
I just want to say, yeah, it's all about setting up habits for yourself. So a lot of my clients, Financial Fridays, first thing in the morning or the end of the day before you go up to the weekend or you want to start your week, you just say, I'm going to spend an hour just looking at my financials. And once if you do it every week for a couple, it's like, what they say, 21 days to form a habit, then it might take you an hour the first time you look at your financials, but by the end of 21 days, in 10 minutes, you can look at your numbers and know exactly where you're heading into the next week or the next quarter. So it's just getting yourself into a habit of looking at your financials and being able to scan them at a glance. So it's start a habit and start working on it. Hey,
wonderful. I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. We definitely look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. We're here day 7 of 24. Super excited. And the biggest thing that I would say is application. We're giving small nuggets. It's surprising how an hour flies by. I think on Saturday I got really excited and I kept folks for an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, and Ryan's like, okay, bye. So I value your time. And I definitely look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Chris Beth.
Bye, everybody. Have a good day.
Bye, sister. Thank you.
Thank you.